What's up, everybody? This is Suresh from Mind is a Monkey coming at you guys with another episode of Let's Check Out Some Diecast. In today's video, we are going to be checking out the first mix of Matchbox moving parts for the year 2026. Now, with regards to the mix, it's got 7 castings and it's kind of like a weak mix. The reason I call it a weak mix is because there's only one new model, which is that 1964 Porsche 911, and pretty much all the other models, all the other 6 models, are recolors of castings we have seen previously. But that's pretty much what we have seen with Matchbox in the past, right? So Matchbox mixes are always kind of like hit and miss in the beginning of the year, but they kind of like get real interesting and they finish strong, right, every year with so many new models in the mix. Now, along with this Mix 1 of 2026, I also brought along some Matchbox Super Chases from prior years for show and tell and for some eye candy, right? So some of these I scored locally and some of these from Facebook Marketplace purchases. I also found some, older Matchbox moving parts from my storage, which I eventually had to open up and add it to my loose collection. So we will also be checking them out. So without further delay, let's dive right into these. Our first model today is the 1991 Mitsubishi Pajero, and the opening parts are the doors. Let's open this car up. For those of you who are new to Matchbox moving parts, this is kind of like inset in this foam piece, and you kind of like gotta pop those wheels to get the model out, right? I always like to add those small tidbits of information that newer collectors might appreciate, all right? So a nice metal flake shiny green, and as we saw earlier, the moving parts are the doors, all right? So pretty nice construction, and no, it says 4D56T. Now I wonder if that's some kind of like an Easter egg from a real life model out there, all right? So, but let me see. This one is actually from 1991, so that's not any reference to the year, all right? So there we have the Mitsubishi Pajero, nice details on the tail lights, all right, and a nice 3D printed extra wheel right there, all right? Okay, so let's set that right there. And up next, we have a 2020 BMW M4 Cabriolet in a nice, I should say, mauve or light purple. All right, all you color specialists, you tell me what color this is. All right, so I think this one is a recolor of the model that made its debut in yellow. It's a bright, beautiful yellow. And this one, again, the moving parts are the doors. Okay, all right, so pretty cool looking model. Let's set it right there. And up next, this was the most difficult model to find, right? So this being a JDM model, this was like most popular among collectors and who picked it clean off the shelves, right? So I had a little bit of difficulty in scoring this, all right? And this is the 2004 Honda S2K. And the moving part, as depicted on the card art, is the hood. Wow. Now, that is a really beautiful paint job, right? So a white body with like a carbon fiber of a finish, a matte finish, I should say. Yeah, not carbon fiber, matte finish for that hood. That actually is the opening part. It reveals a beautifully painted and well-detailed engine. Wow, it's even to the point where you can see the details like VTEC on the engine, right? So very nice individually painted parts. I think that's really cool at that scale. And for deco, we've got B&M and Falcon for deco, right? Matchbox, Honda S2000, 333 for a racing number, Matchbox Japan. Wow, that's pretty cool. Matchbox Japan. I wonder if that's like like a new venture or something like that, or if that's a call out to something that's been going on, right? Because in the past we have seen some Japan exclusive Matchboxes, right? So just pretty awesome. That red interior is really bringing out a nice contrast, and the fact that that is matching with these red lipped wheels, it's pretty awesome. That's a nice attention to detail. All right, and not much of any kind of like an Easter egg for the tail plates, but no wonder this one has been such a popular model and also making it like hard to find. There we have the Honda S2K, and up next, we have the only new model in this first mix of 2026, the 1964 Porsche 911. Now, the moving part is the hatch, I should say, which is actually the engine bay. All right, so just another casting like the Lamborghini where the engine is in the rear. All right. So now we have definitely seen some Porsche 911 castings in the past, but the fact that this one is the exact replica of a model from 1964 is what makes this the first time, the debut model, right, in Matchbox. So there we have Porsche 911 for lettering, GG Matchbox 911, all right, and pretty beautiful. I mean, you cannot go wrong with a Porsche, right? I mean, it's so hard not to fall in love with a Porsche casting, all right? And let's open that hatch, all right? As you can see, this is the ventilation for the engine, okay? Wow, check that engine out, all right? Pretty cool, all right? So there we have the only new model in the mix, the 1964 Porsche 911. Up next at number 5 is a 2016 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Now, I know this model made its debut in a bright yellow color. Wow, I couldn't forget it, yellow. And hopefully, I'm not wrong about that. All right, so check this out. Wow, and it's also got like a removable, so this one's got two moving parts, right? So one is a door, and the other one is are these surfboards, right? So these surfboards, so there's like a small, wedge here where it can go and kind of like fix itself there. Oh, maybe I'm like, oh, you can only fit them in like one direction, which I think is pretty cool, right? You cannot go wrong with it. All right. And the moving parts, in addition to those removable surfboards, are also the doors. All right. So pretty cool, rugged construction as ever. The Jeep, a nice 3D printed extra wheel at the back. All right, so let's set them right there. One says Matchbox, and the other one just says the M lettering for Matchbox. And what is on that? I do not know. Jeep Rubicon, and oh, so Gopinath. Does it say Gopinath? Wow, this is awesome. Wait a minute. Let me just like focus in on that detail. Is that like, a call out to the designer who designed this? Gani Gopinath or Gary Gopinath. Hopefully, I'm not killing that first name there. All right, and which actually kind of like makes me think this Porsche also had GG for initials, right? I'm wondering if that is also a call out to the Matchbox designer, Gani Gopinath. All right, so which is pretty awesome. That's rad. Up next, we have the 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona. Sorry, I had to kind of like refocus the camera back there. So thanks for batting with me. Moving parts are the doors again. This almost seems like a door-heavy moving parts series, right? Okay, let's pop this one out. There we have the Dodge Charger Daytona from 2024, a two-tone paint finish with a matte finish for the roof and a metal flake deep blue for the body. All right, so pretty nice, but not a lot of details otherwise. It says Daytona on the back. All right, let's set that right there. And our last model in the first mix of 2026 is the 2024 Lexus GX, another moving parts with the doors. All right, I think we have seen this model at least 2 times, or maybe if it's specific to the year, one other time, but it was possibly in a white shade, is what I'm thinking. There were two Lexus models, Lexus, SUVs. So one of them was a 2024 GX. The other one may have been a different model. All right. So a pretty factory color, I presume, right? So a Lexus for lettering, and there we have. I'm trying to focus in on that detail. It says GX 550. Okay, wow, it's pretty awesome to get that detail at the scale, which is cool. And okay, standard Matchbox wheels. Yeah, okay, all right. So okay, let's set that right there. And up next, I usually have a habit of saving the best for the last. So I will open the Super Chases last. I wanted to kind of like open up these OG versions of Matchbox moving parts when Matchbox moving parts still had plastic in their packaging. And then around a couple of years ago, they shifted to a complete plastic-free packaging, which I think is pretty awesome. All right. So it's all towards, reducing the carbon footprint and, less and less plastic that ends up in landfills. So anything that's good for planet Earth is good for everybody, right? So now this is the Mazda, and back then we used to have these small cars that carry the model name. This is a 1988 Mazda RX-7 with the opening part being the hood. All right, so now I don't want to prop this open any further and end up breaking it, but it reveals a nice detailed engine. All right, I think that's pretty awesome. Looks super metallic, a lot of individual pipes and parts running there, at least the finish. It's all a single piece, but the way it's been painted makes it look like there are like multiple parts in there. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so there we have the 1988 Mazda RX-7. Definitely a very iconic JDM car. Let's set that right there. Up next, we have a 2020 Chevy Tahoe. I think this is at least from 3 years ago, I'm going to say, right? Or possibly 2 years ago, right? A 2020 Chevy Tahoe with a moving part being the hood, right? I think that's the fun thing about, not in all the models. In some of the models, the casting literally has the moving part opened, so I think that's pretty cool, right? So for example, this 2024 Chevy Blazer EV, the opening part is the hood, and it literally comes in the packaging like that. Okay, so awesome. So rugged casting, the 2020 Chevy Tahoe with the moving part being the hood, again revealing an engine bay. I'm not sure how much of this detail you were able to get at this angle, and it being all black, there's not a lot of advantage. All right. All right. Standard Matchbox wheels, I guess. Basic mainline wheels. All right. So let's set that right there. Up next, we are down to the last three cars from my warehouse finds, from my storage finds. The 2024 Chevy Blazer EV. I really dig this red paint scheme. Sorry, it's taking me a minute to get it out of the packaging. Finally. Okay. Wow, check that out. I really like those slightly golden accents on the rims, on the spokes of these wheels, and they really complement the red. All right. But for the moving parts, these are pretty simple executions of cars. And also remember, these were like from a couple of years ago, right? And Matchbox has definitely kind of like stepped up their game in the past couple of years. There we have Chevy Blazer for lettering. All right. And okay, so this is an electric car, right? As the name goes, Chevy Blazer EV, right? All right, so let's set that right there. Up next, we have a fan favorite 1957 Ford Country sedan. Like, did any of you grow up with this as your family car? If yes, please leave a shout out in the comments. All right. So, because for many of my friends, this one has been like in their family growing up, and these country sedans are always very nostalgic, right? It brings fond memories of their childhood. So it's definitely a fan favorite car. So there we have the 1957 Ford Country sedan with the moving part being the hood. Now, this hood opens the other way. Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, not a lot of details in there, but it does reveal an engine bay, and you can see the cylinder drum and everything. All right. Okay. Let's set it right there. Up next, we have a new model. This is actually, back when Matchbox had this kind of like a packaging, they did not necessarily call out new models, but this Bollinger B2 is kind of like a one and done kind of like a model, right? I did not see newer Bollinger models show up either in main lines or in any of their moving parts or collectors kind of a series, right? So, but this Bollinger B2 is like a first edition new model, right? So that's their symbol, that's their logo. Let's open this up, and it has got two moving parts. One, as you can see, is the hood, right? And I think this is supposed to be an electric model because, as you can see, this is more of like a boot space, right? And it's not an engine bay. It does not reveal an engine. So I think it's an electric car. And the fact that so this is one of the moving parts, and the other moving part is the tailgate, right? Oh, there you see it. Okay. Right there you have it. So very nice execution. Looks like a military grade vehicle, right? I mean, you could literally see the robustness spill out of this model. So that's pretty cool. I wish Matchbox made more releases of this model, and to see if Bollinger made other models besides this Bollinger B2. So 2022 Bollinger B2. All right. Okay. Pretty awesome see-through roof there. All right. So let's set that right there. And now for the part that some of you guys, and to be very honest, even I have been eagerly waiting, the Matchbox Super Chases. Now let me pinch out the camera a little, right? I have 4 Super Chases to open up in this video. Now, with the exception of this particular Mitsubishi Evo 4, the other 3 are from 2025, and the Evo is from 2024, right? So I never found this in stores, and I never kind of like snagged a deal in time. I just kind of like got all of these in last December timeframe. I did a Facebook Marketplace a trade for that one, a Facebook Marketplace purchase, and I got lucky finding this one and this one. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Jordan Bilgo for helping me score some of these chases and add them as trade bait. So thank you, Jordan. All right, so without further delay, let's open these up. Our first Matchbox Super Chase for the day is a 1996 Mitsubishi Evo 4. All right, so as you can see, so now let me make a comparison with Hot Wheels Super Treasure Hunts, right? So you remember how the Hot Wheels Super Treasure Hunts have that TH for a symbol, which designates it as a treasure hunt, super treasure hunt. So like that, Matchbox has this tradition of marking their super chases with this SC, right? So now for deco, this one's got Falcon, and I'm just trying to see if I'm missing something else. Wow, it does not call out, the deco or the licenses like typically what we see in Hot Wheels. All right, so let's figure this out for ourselves. So Falcon, and I'm just trying to see. Okay, there's definitely some Japanese lettering there, and SC Rally 06. Okay, and the moving part is actually the hood that reveals a pretty awesome engine bay. Wow, check that out. Mitsubishi. All right, pretty awesome. All right. And, a very beautiful ad to the Super Chase family. All right. I'm very glad to have been able to score this. So, Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 4. Now, I have a question about all these super chases, but we will get to that later. All right. Let me set that right there. And up next is the next one in chronological order. This one was kind of like the second super chase for 2025, and I was not able to find this in stores, so I ended up making a Facebook Marketplace trade for this one. All right, now this one is a 1973 BMW CSL 3.0, right? So check that out. So it's got those classic Matchbox stripes. Now, I'm not sure if this is like a classic Matchbox stripe or if that's like a reference to the colors of Germany, where BMW was born. All right. And the opening part is this the hood, but it opens from this angle. All right. And to be honest, this one encourages me to prop it up even more, but I'm super scared that I'm going to break it. So I don't want to prop it up any further. Try it from a different angle. I'm not able to get much of a leverage to open it further than this. Okay, so we'll leave it there. But as we saw with the Evo, it's got the SC designation that marks it as a super chase. So pretty cool looking model. The 1973 BMW CSL 3.0. And up next we have the 1988 Chevy Monte Carlo LS. This one was possibly the last but one super chase of 2025. And, I found this out of the blue. The moment I least expected to find something in that store, I ended up finding a super chase. Wow, this has got some really cool graphics, you guys. So a lot of, well, I don't think this is called pinstriping because it's like definitely way thicker than pinstripes, but definitely some really cool retro stripes there. All right, and the moving part, as you can figure out, are the doors. All right, and it's got the SC designation right there and Monte Carlo for lettering. All right, so SC for a tailplate. All right, and rubber wheels. Now that's the question I had. I will kind of like wait till I open the fourth model. Okay, all right. Our last super chase for today and the last super chase for 2025 is this beautiful 1965 Land Rover Gen 2 pickup. All right, now this was also something that I was lucky enough to find in the stores, so that's pretty awesome. Wow, look at that, right? So very nice. This was part of a set that had, you know, um, I think it was a Toyota Sequoia, and that Toyota Sequoia almost carried a very similar color. So there were like so many times I used to pick up the Toyota Sequoia thinking it was a Chase, only to find out that the Super Chase was a completely different casting. In this case, the Land Rover, right? And as revealed on the card art, the opening parts are the doors again. Okay, and compared to the rest of the models, I kind of like dig this model more because of those wheels. Right now, these are distinct rubber wheels. Right, I almost posted on Instagram. I tagged Matchbox World and asked them why they did not have rubber wheels on all of their super chases, to which my buddy, champion DJK Dave, responded that he's pretty sure that all of them were rubber wheels. But I mean, it's definitely kind of like the material resembles rubber, but it is so close to plastic, right? Even when you kind of like knock on them, you do not get a rubber feel. But I think this is some kind of like a hardened rubber. So I think he was definitely correct when he said, because here you see what I'm saying. This one looks almost plastic. Now, and I really cannot tell the difference because when I put it near my ear and kind of like tap on it, I literally get a plastic feel. But do you think these are still rubber wheels? If you know, let me know in the comments, right? And check this out. This is the Chevy Monte Carlo, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So they might feel, I think they're like either plastic or like super hard rubber, you guys, okay? Because, if you see, look at the finish, there's like a distinct difference between this one and this one, right? So, not to mention, it's got like a super shiny finish, all right? Which, if you take it and apply it to this, chances are that this is rubber too, right? So, but it is not super evident. So that's why I had the question in the first place. But looks like they are rubber wheels after all. So that was the side question that I was waiting to ask you guys towards the after we have opened up the super chases. So there we have all the models that we opened up for today. Wow, something is really fuzzy with the camera. Sorry about that. Okay, so which one is your favorite? So among the 2026 Mix 1, my top favorite is the Honda S2K, followed by the Porsche, and pretty much all the other models would go for, like third place. And definitely, this Bollinger is a winner in my books. And you gotta love all those Matchbox super chases. All right, till I meet you guys next time, this is Suresh signing off. Rock on and stay awesome. Bye, everyone.